Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Ice Project. The Ice Project is almost back into full swing right now. Behind me, I've got my content studio almost ready to roll. Just waiting for a table and equipment. I'll start getting guests back on. One of my favorite things to do is interview guests as well. So really looking forward to that. This is sort of going to be an inside YKTR style vibe. Sort of the run sheet on this is changes that we've made around the company, Magic Round, which was an absolute vibe. And I had a great question come through the other day. And it said anxiety within the business as a business owner because I can't pay my suppliers. And that's something we've gone through multiple times. So I'll touch on that a little bit. So obviously last time you would if you followed this podcast, you would have heard me. You would have heard it in my tone, demeanor, actions, angry, frustrated, stressed, and all of that was all my own fault as well. So what I'd done is, and the analogy I'm going to use is, you know, when you plant a seed and you start watering the seed, and sometimes if you water it the wrong way, you have a tree that you're not really proud of, or you have a plant that you're not really proud of. And that's what I would sort of done. I'd created an entitled environment where I think I was trying to be a cool boss too much. And I watch The Office now and you look at Michael Scott and he tries to do things that are cool, that make him look cool, but sometimes it's not the best thing for a business as well. So like I said, I'd planted a seed. I thought it was a good seed. I was watering it a certain way and I seen it starting to grow and I'm like, yo, that's not it. That's not the tree that I want to build and that's not a tree I'm going to be proud of as well. So had to go into some really tough conversations and I put it all on me. Like this is my fault. This is on me. So I'd had this really rough conversation with the boys and it was kind of like a wake up call for everyone. And there's a book called Good to Great and they sort of talk about the bus and you're like, before your bus takes off, you need to get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and you actually have to get the right people in the right seats. And like Lukey, for example, Lukey, everyone knows sort of Lukey's sort of my go-to guy in this business as well. And what I was doing, I was allocating one of my best resources as a person, which is Lukey, and giving him the problem so I could do the things that are going to help us grow. What you got to do is give your best people the opportunity spaces so they can grow, and it's your fault to solve the problem. So, and I could see him getting frustrated and him getting angry, and you don't want your best people on your bus angry because potentially they could jump off the bus and leave. So we had a really rough conversation and it was good. And it wasn't good at the time and everyone's feelings got hurt like a little bit, but we're starting to see some resolution now. So we took off the Magic Round. It was a lot of fun. And when the boys come back, I said, there's going to be some changes around here. I'm going to set the pace. I'm going to try and hold the pace for you guys. And I want to set a standard where if I took myself out, things would operate. And accountability is a big thing. And accountability is when your staff members can hold each other accountable as well, within reason. Like I don't want to be like a micromanager go, that's not good enough, you do that. And if I go away, it's like a substitute teacher comes in and you sort of fuck around. You're not as efficient with work as well. And the analogy I gave, and I think this is one of my flaws as a leader, is when things aren't getting done the way I want them to do, I'll go on and do them, but I don't teach anyone how to do them. So I'll be like, oi, like get out the way, I'll do it. And then the analogy I gave the boys today was, it's like we're in a canoe and there's 3 people on each side. And if I'm paddling on my hardest and I'm thinking that's leadership, but I'm only on one side of the boat, what happens to the boat? You end up just going in circles like that as well. And then I'm getting angry. I'm going, no, like, let me just paddle even harder. Like the boys are going to learn off me. And you just go paddle, paddle, paddle. You just go quicker into circles. And you know where you end up? Nowhere. So there's a great saying, teach a man to fish, or give a man a fish, you can feed him for a night. Teach a man to fish, you can feed him for a generation. So I've sort of made a little pledge to the boys that I'm going to spend a lot more one-on-one time with them as well. And sort of helping them grow. And if you give that sort of waka or canoe analogy is like, all right, this is how we hold the paddle and this is how we stroke. And the thing with that is like when everyone's paddling in sync and we're moving together, you don't have to stroke as hard. It's not as stressful. You're not as drained. But because I'm at the front just trying to go like that, we're just going like that. So I thought it was a pretty good analogy and the boys sort of got that, but that's where we are right now. A few changes. Like I said, sometimes I like Michael Scott. I'm trying to be the cool boss because I'm on fucking podcasts and people know who I am now and you're trying to be like the cool guy. But when I look back on the people I admire in my life, I look at my parents. They showed me love, but they also taught me lessons as well. I had an older brother. Like I was a fucking little shit of a brother too. Like I used to always test his patience, but he showed me accountability. If I fucked up, he'd give me a hiding. And my coaches that I had really good coach in Tony Iro. I had a great coach in Ivan Cleary as well. Like these are the guys that I admire because they showed me like a bit of love, but they also showed me accountability as well. If things didn't go a certain way, like there'd be a consequence for that as well. And it wasn't always like a physical consequence, but it might be a consequence and opportunity. So that's the sort of environment that we're trying to create here. Like I'll show you love, I'll gas you up, don't get me wrong. But when things aren't going well, like I'm gonna call it out as well. And that was a big thing. Like boys, we need accountability from here, and not just from me, from everyone. So it was a really cool meeting. One thing we have rolled into is enforced workout. I feel weird saying this because I just don't believe like 8 hours work equates to 8 hours of value. And I've always believed this. Like, I don't think school should have been as long as it should be. I don't believe in 9 to 5s, but there's got to be some sort of value in it as well. So I was the type of boss that used to go, all right, boys, once you get your work done, yeah, you guys can cruise. And I was away sick for 4 days. I had this fucking crazy flu, and people who run the building were trying to get into my office building, and everyone was gone at 1. And I don't realize all the work was getting done. I'm not too sure. Like we were setting directions, but everyone was just dipping out very early. And if you see one guy dip out at 10:30 or 11, then you see all the boys start to go. So I wasn't setting the right environment for there as well. So and so we got enforced work hours. It's 6 hours. You can rock up whenever you want. We have an 8:30 meeting. We have a stand-up meeting every single morning. It's roughly about 10, 15 minutes. Sort of talk about our to-do list and all that sort of stuff as well. So there's a few changes that we've made, but you're here for 6 hours. And what you do over that time is really important, but then also like going out to lunch together and talking about ideas. And that's how you grow. Like if you just come and do your work and fuck off and do your own thing, you don't have that time to sit down and brainstorm and talk about ideas. And the big thing that we talked about today was not only self-awareness, but more importantly, self-assessment. So they say great guys are built in solitude. So a lot of the boys are very self-aware, but a lot of the boys don't have great self-assessment. And the difference is self-awareness is understanding who you are and what you're about and being comfortable about not only talking about that, but accepting you for who you are. But self-assessment is understanding where your flaws are and how you can fix them as well. So those are the types of conversations. And like we're a content house. We should never take anything. Like people are giving us their time. People are giving us their disposable income to buy clothes. We should be looking at our content and go, oh, this is what we could have done better. Or, oh, I love the way that Scope, me and you were interacting there. Or we start looking at TikTok data. Bro, this is flying, Jordan. Like, let's double down on this. If the boys are just dipping out early, we don't start to have those conversations of self-assessment. So those are the key topics that we learned from this week. And there's still friction. Like I said to the boys, whenever there's change, there's always going to be friction. Whenever you start working out and you haven't within ages, your body's sore, running's hard, it's tough to get up. But there's a certain part where you cross over and things start to get interesting, like exercising starts to give you more energy. So really cool thing. I film a staff meeting. I normally just put this in Inner Circle, but I might just post it so you guys can sort of see what the vibe is and how we associate energy. And like we come in Tuesday, again, tough conversations, had a really great week at Magic Week, Magic Round, but I was like, this ain't good enough. Like, let's raise the bar. Like, I'll set the bar. I'll hold it up here. You guys come and let's keep it up there together. So it was cool. Stand-up meetings every morning, work hours enforced, and self-assessment is really important for us. So more one-on-one times and just trying to get all the boys to paddle in the right direction. So that's where we're at right now. Number 2, Magic Round was a vibe. Shout out to everyone that sort of come up and said hello or was in the vlog. We had a club that sold out. I honestly didn't think anyone, I didn't know how much people would come, but we sold out tickets, 300 tickets in the first hour. There's like 100 door sales tickets and they were gone pretty quickly as well. So had a great time. Sometimes you forget how far content goes. You press enter and it sort of goes out there, and it might go to someone who's struggling with life or struggling with a relationship, and we're able to give entertainment, we're able to give education, and most importantly, we're able to give escapism. But sometimes when you press enter, you don't know where that goes. and sort of to have a touch point and shake people's hands and have photos and have beers with people and play pokie machines and get on the piss with people. It was cool. And we've seen plenty of YKTR about. So I was really proud of a brand on that weekend. And the boys all held themselves in good stead. And I think they represented the brand really well. So really proud of us. Gave the boys a pat on the back as well. And just like, how do we double down on this and how do we make it better? Our big things at YKTR is content and community. Clothes sell themselves when we focus on content and community. Clothes sell. So now we're a little bit bigger. It's like, shit, let's double down on the things that got us there. Let's make better content. Let's make more community. Let's make more touch points. And we'll eventually build a cool brand. And we're okay now, but I've got very big dreams for this as well. I love giving things away. It sounds selfish, but it makes me happy. Fills my cup. Like, I know we're giving stuff away and people are really grateful for that as well, but really makes me feel good. And it's going to be a big part of our brand's identity for as long as I'm running it. It's going to be, like yesterday, we had a bunch of samples that like just sit in our office that we never use. We were going to give them to the Doozy Club, but logistically that's kind of like a nightmare. But we just rolled a rack down, had a shitty little sign. He said, hey guys, free hoodies. Does anyone want to come grab one? And they were gone in like 20 seconds. Obviously they're free clothes and free YKTR clothes. But people come up and said, thank you. Like that stuff makes me feel good. So it's like, how do we incorporate that into everything that we do here? So we've got some ideas. Give away money to Doozy Club members, ringing up people and giving away $1,000. That makes me feel good as well. So being in positions to help like charities, that makes me feel good. So it's going to be a big part of everything that we're doing. Someone had a question in my Q&A and I thought it was a really good question. Hey, I'm struggling with anxiety because of my business is struggling to pay its bills. So I've been in this position a number of times and I've been in this position this year. And the reason why I was so stressed 4 or 5 weeks ago is because I spent 4 or 5 weeks trying to get us out that exact same problem. So from a personal standpoint, and obviously this is just my own personal thoughts and beliefs, there's been a couple times in my business career and in my football career where I wasn't always guaranteed success. I wasn't a type of footy player that could just rock up and do what I need to do and make it. And what I found through football has translated over to business. So whenever I'm under pressure personally or business, cut out the bullshit straight away. I try and exercise a little bit in the morning. I try and eat a lot cleaner. I cut out all, like I stopped partying, I stopped drinking, I stopped doing all that sort of stuff that doesn't even fucking matter anyway. And I just try and get myself as clear as possible. So when I do come to work, I'm in a clear mind state. I've been for a swim. I've had my coffee. I've spent some time on my own. And then when I come to work, I'm not like this fucking ball of stress that it's going to make a bad decision. Anyone that makes decisions when you're emotional, it's a bad idea. Like you got to separate emotions and execution. And that's how I first start. And then secondly, I face the problem head on. I'm like, all right, shit, we owe our supplier X amount. So say we owe someone like $500,000 or $100,000 or $10,000. I don't know how big your business is. I accept the situation for what it is. I'm like, shit. All right. And the next question is, once you accept it and you're in a clear mind state, you're like, all right, how do I fix this? So there's different ways you can do it. One, you can obviously ask for extended payment terms. So say if your payment terms are 30 days, go, hey, this is the situation I'm in. I can't pay you to 60 days. Is there a chance for an extension? Sometimes they might say no. Second one, roll into a pre-sale model if you can. Potentially if you've got a clientele or a fan base that, if you've been transparent with your fan base from day dot, they appreciate this type of honesty. So you go, hey guys, we're dropping some merch. They're on pre-sale. They won't be available for 2-3 weeks. Here's why. That way you can generate some money into the system and pay someone off as well. Thirdly, one thing, and I learned this a while, thirdly, you can actually get some external money, so OPM, other people's money. Obviously, with all that comes like a little bit of risk. So if you take on a bank loan, you might have to give up some equity and not give up equity, but they might want to hold your property as collateral as well. Potentially, if you're accepting money, you're going to have to give away some equity if someone sees potential in your business as well. There's different ways you can accept money. I'd stay away from the friends and family route. I know that's probably the easiest one and it doesn't acquire interest or anything like that. But you can ruin some relationships if you're not in a stable place to get that money back to them as well. And that's really important. But one thing I learned a couple of years ago was same situation. We owed someone like $500K and what had happened is his interest rates were compiling up. So I thought we're paying 3% interest each month. They'd double. So it'd go 3, 6, 9, 12, and we got ourselves in a bit of trouble. And one thing that we did do is generate like pre-sales with products. So that generated money in. I put some personal of my money in. That's my business and I got us into it. So I'm the one that should pay us out and not like Chico and Normie. And honestly, it was honestly hard, but the lesson I learned from that is not to be reliable on a single source of income. So individually, I have multiple sources of income. I get paid from YKTR, get paid from podcasting, get paid from online courses, get paid from consulting. Eventually, I'll get dividends as well. Same thing happened with YKTR. So I was like, shit, we're solely relying on close. If China closes down, if the boats crash, if a Ukraine war starts, if the US dollar goes up, my money's solely relying on that. So the lesson I learned from this is like to build multiple streams of revenue and to help with cash flow as well. And that's still fucked up. Like I was in cash flow trouble start of this year, but I went from YKTR. We started YKTR Sports. So if you look at YKTR, we sell clothes. We have a subscription model called the Doozy Club where people buy in, and really, really cool idea. I love the Doozy Club. It's my fun. And then we got YKTR Sports. So YKTR Sports makes money from ad revenue. This podcast is brought to you by XXX. And then we sell clothes on there as well in a pre-sale style model as well. And we do events. So we rocked up with Kenjin. We got paid to do that event as well. So we have these different streams of revenue coming through. So if you think $0 is the floor here and you sell clothes and say you make $10,000 in a night and then next day you're making zero and you keep hitting that zero, that's when you start to get in trouble. But when you have multiple streams of revenue, like say your zero might be $1,000 a day or $500 a day, you're not at the floor anymore. And then everything else on top is a bonus. So that was one of the big lessons I learned from that. Cash flow is get a really good accountant. That really helps. I'm still not good at these things. I've got my accounting meetings coming up with Kelly Partners. You know how I feel about them. But I'm still going into tough conversations around taxes and what are you doing, spending money on partying and shit like that. So anxiety thing's real. I'm not an anxious person, but when you feel like your business is going to go out of business, it gets a little bit scary. And I've been there. I've felt that. I kind of documented as well. But to sort of wrap it up, 1, get yourself in the right place daily. Go for a walk, go for a swim, have a coffee, spend some time on your own. 2, make sure you're unemotional when you come into work. People make bad decisions when they're emotional. People say stupid things when they're emotional. 3, face the problem head on. Accept the problem for what it is. It's not going to go anywhere. The more you run away from it, it doesn't disappear. You're still going to owe people money. 4, come up with a solution. Can you extend your payment terms? Can you get money from an external source, OPM, other people's money? Understand if you are accepting money from somewhere else, where is it going to come from? Or what's the consequences for that? Are you going to give up equity? Is your interest rate going to be 3%, 5%, 10%? What does that look like over time? If you accept money from friends and family, you potentially could ruin a relationship. Another reason you can start to do pre-sale models, or you can find a product that you can flip. But the goal is to sort of understand cash flow and try and build multiple streams of revenue, and that'll really, really help you out. And the other side of it as well, and I've fallen into this as well, is when like you do get a fuckload of money on it, don't spend it on shit that doesn't matter. And I'm guilty of that. I've spent money on like $20,000 Christmas parties and dumb shit like that. It doesn't even matter, honestly. And I'd done it last year. I wanted to be the cool boss and take everyone up to New Year's and spend like $8,000 a night on a house. Like, why? It doesn't really matter. So make sure when you are making money on the other side, make sure you're stacking it for a rainy day. You should be sitting on liquid cash cushions. You should be sitting on 3 to 6 months of all your expenses. So if your expenses are $10,000 a month and they cover your rent, all your staff, your electricity and bills and stuff like that, build up at least 3 months and then try and get to 6 months and then try and get to a year. If you're sitting on a year worth of expenses, you're in a pretty good spot there as well. 6 months is probably ideal. 3 months is the start. 6 months is ideal. And you'll find if you're sitting on liquid cash cushions like that, when problems like this come, you're going to be okay. So really important. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys like this content. Ice Project coming back soon. Like, comment, and subscribe. Later days.